Okay, well, this is just kind of interesting. Messing around with the new device that I have. Keep in mind, um, regarding the information I'm going to provide, my hat says liability. It might look backwards to you all, but it's something to keep in mind because liability is what runs this world. Everybody is afraid of being liable, and nobody wants to own up for what they do. Okay, and so I think maybe what I'll go into conversation that I had today with a friend of mine. He's looking at possible bankruptcy. He's looking at debt collectors and things like that. And I've got lots of information regarding that in the old Facebook group, Tactical Sovereignty, Administrating the Estate. And I'm trying to link some of that information from that archive group into Tactical Sovereignty, Administering the First Estate. And hopefully people know what the First Estate is really all about. Okay. Go back and think about the fallen angels, for instance. Okay. They left their first estate. And it's important that we pay very close attention to our first estate. All right. The conversation I had with the gentleman this evening, he was worried about possible bankruptcy, and he had a court date coming up, and the creditor was coming after him. And what we need to realize the difference between who the creditor is and isn't. Okay. Majority of the times when certain debts relapse, and I would recommend to anybody, whenever you're dealing with this, you never refer to the debt as my debt or I borrowed or anything like that. Never tie yourself to it. Never ever. Okay. And so one of the things I had to kind of unwind his mind about a little bit was that these third-party debt collectors, what they really are washed-up attorneys. They couldn't get into criminal law, whatever. They didn't take the time to start out at a bottom tier, okay, in a court system or in an attorney firm, actually, to put it better, and then work their way up and build a name, and then after time create their own. Now, they graduated from law school, and they immediately thought, oh, I'm going to be Johnny Cochran now. It doesn't work that way. And so, anyway, a lot of them get washed up. And so, they'll buy these loans. They'll buy these debts. Okay? They might buy a bundle of them. People need to realize these bundles are the same as the mortgage bundles, okay, from the housing collapse. Same exact situation. A lot of things are put into bundles. Birth certificates are put into bundles, depending on what kind of money the family made. Okay. Keep that in mind. Anyway, what they'll do is they'll go and buy, say, a $20,000 bundle of debt for pennies on the dollar. And they're making a gamble. The gamble is that they can go after those little individual people that owe some of this money, supposedly, and collect on it and drag you into court. They'll do the notice procedure. They'll send a notice to your house 1, 2, 3 times, whatever. No response, then you receive a summons for court. Well, when you get a court, then what the courts typically do is a mediation or arbitration. They call it mediation normally. And the problem with the mediation is that there's no independent party there. It's just you and the people accusing you, okay, of a debt. And they start right out with, okay, well, you borrowed X amount, you used X amount, so therefore it needs to be collected. How do you want to set up a payment plan? They kind of walk you right into it, right? One of the first things I did when I started researching law is defaulted on several small credit loans because I thought that would be a good way to see how the courts work. And it actually was. It was very enlightening. In fact, I had situations where I don't know who wrote the song Waterfall or Make It Rain. Well, several of these companies like made it rain. They had the letters that I gave them. They threw them in the air and they were like falling down like rain. It was hilarious. And then they walked out. And they walked out because I held them to what arbitration, mediation is all about. I think this was actually put into law in like 1925, okay, for the U.S. The problem is that people don't go and research it. They don't go and read it and look at it. I've provided it in Tactical Sovereignty. I provided it actually on my main Facebook page, Brian Parker. You can go and look it up and look at the requirements for it. I had 3 different situations. They all kind of varied because I tried different things with them just to see the reaction. All 3 of them worked. Okay, all 3 worked. And the good one, the funniest one I thought was that when I was told to go to mediation, I went to mediation at what would be the defendant's desk in front of the judge with the accuser. And she said, okay, well, here's the situation. You owed. I said, whoa, you're claiming I owe. I said, how do you know I owe? And she said, well, right here. And she brought up on the computer. She said, this is where I filed the lawsuit. And I said, well, that's wonderful. Anybody can file a lawsuit. Doesn't make it valid. Anybody can file a lawsuit. And she's like, well, I don't know what you mean. And I said, listen, I said, in a summons for court, one of the requirements are that, one, you have either been hired by the original creditor or, who knows, you're just kind of acting like a representative for the original creditor. Either way, you have to show evidence of that. So, do you work for or have you been hired by them? This woman flipped out. She threw all her shit back in the briefcase. She went up in front of the judge. She threw her hands up in the air. She was yelling stuff to the judge. I don't know what she said. And she walked away. And I looked up at the judge and I said, what now? And the judge said, well, you might, but I doubt it, be contacted again by them. But probably not. And I thought, oh, so yeah, I hit something on the head there. Here's the thing. The bottom line is, you have no contract with this third-party collector. I don't care what's written into the original contracts or anything like that. Doesn't matter. You have, one, you have no contract with that original or with this third-party debt collector. And number 2, they have no first-hand knowledge of the loan. They must have first-hand knowledge of the loan, and they don't have it. Anyway, that's just a brief, and we'll catch you all later. Come join us at Tactical Sovereignty on Facebook. Join me on WordPress. Join me at TalkShoe 143-321 every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Been there for years. Love you all. Hey, I'm just sharing my journey. That's what I call it, my journey. Because I've learned so much shit just digging and putting myself in the belly of the beast to find out what the truth really is. Good night, everybody.